Right, 今日は何曜日? It's Dodododoyobi. Today's Saturday, October 26th, 2024 here in Pacifica, California. 50, and I think it said it's about 66 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 10 degrees to 19 degrees Celsius. Today, I'm just going to talk about like the temperature is starting to drop, right? So right now is the most delicate time for medakas. And there are certain things that like I do as far as changing up the food, the protein content, the fat content, what do we do with the water and all that. So I think I'll just babble about that, but let me just take a real quick sip. Oh boy, the metal in Medaka today is on Instagram at MedakaMetal. I put up a image of like this guitar. This is a Ibanez Roadstar 2 Series, 1986. And it was all in the pieces, meaning literally it was in three different pieces. If you see the crack here and here, it was like 1, 2, 3. It was basically like chopped up in pieces. I don't know how that happened. But I had a great buddy of mine help me put this together. So this is literally my Frankenstein guitar. It has a wonderful neck. It's almost a neck to die for, and I'm really happy about how this is coming back to life. So enough of all that stuff. All right, so the temperature over here in Pacifica, like it's important to look at what the temperature, like your climate is. Right now, we're getting into fall, and soon winter will be around. And what does that mean for the medakas? It's like one of those most delicate times where maybe you see some of them like out of the blue, just like passing away. They're not able to handle the change of seasons, basically. So there are certain things that we as like medaka heads can do, and one is food. And I'll try to explain why, the reason behind. And by the way, for the raffle, next time the raffle is going to be this thing. How do you enter the raffle? It's easy. You just become a certified medaka head. Just hit the join button on YouTube. And there's a tier 1, tier 2. Tier 1 and 2 both gets access to, I do members only short videos. I will mention you on these episodes. And then when I do have the raffles, if you're tier 1, you get 1 ticket. If you're tier 2, you get 2 tickets. So if you're tier 2, you kind of double the chance. And what does that all lead to? Hey, it's just a way for me to get a quick beer fund. So all the proceeds that come from that, it basically helps fueling the medaka head that I am. So I don't even know if that even makes sense, but please bear with me. All right, so to the food. What happens when the temperatures come down? So the way I look at it is that just remember these three numbers in Fahrenheit: 44, 50, and 60. Why are they significant? At 44 degrees Fahrenheit, that's when they start kind of moving around. Very little, subtle. At 50, they're kind of lurking around for food because they're better able to digest the food, break down all the nutrients. At 60 degrees Fahrenheit, that's pretty much the optimal temperature, where they're kind of like looking around for food, scavenging around for food, what they could get, because they're moving around, they're exerting their energy, meaning their metabolism is up, and they're constantly looking for a source of energy, right? So, that being said, what do we have to do when the temperature drops? Well, a lot of the foods, all the Gex stuff I have, all the Hikari stuff that you could get on Amazon, They are high in protein and fat. High in protein as in protein is typically 50% and up, and the fat content is 9% and up. And it's good when the temperature is warm. They're moving around, they're constantly using up their energy, and they're able to break down that protein, high fat down. Again, they are stomachache fish. So whatever they consume, they got to break down, and it goes out within about 90 minutes. So once the temperature starts dropping, what happens? Well, they don't move. They're not active, right, as when they are when it's really hot. So they don't utilize that much energy. And it also slows down their metabolism, right? High protein, high fat. It takes a lot of energy for them to break down. So now at a lower temperature, they're still going to eat. But what can we do as Medaka heads to make sure that they're not having any type of blockage issues, not being able to break down the high protein, high fat content? Well, there are food alternatives. And the example I have over here, this is the one that I keep on using. This is Hikari Medaka no Mai maintenance. This is kind of like a cooler temperature formula. They're not available in the U.S., so I do have an alternative over here. But it's over here is like protein, right? 38%, fat 7% versus the 50 and then the 9%, which we typically see. So this is what I have already switched to because I'm looking at the temperature and it's just like we're starting to see I'm in between 50 and 60 with the low and the high. So that's giving me like an average of 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which it's for me, it's an indicator. It's time for me to switch foods. Not only am I going to switch foods to a lower protein, lower fat, but instead of twice a day, only feeding once a day. I get up, I got to leave for work around 7, and the sun doesn't come up until 7:30 anymore, where I live in Pacifica, California, 12 miles south of San Francisco. So the only chance I have for me to feed them is right after I get back from work. So I get back around 5. And at 5, the water temperature is a little bit around 60. So it's a good time to feed them. So I feed them this low protein, low fat food, just sparkling around. And I know that if I feed them at 5, there's at least an hour and a half of sunlight left before the sun sets. So that gives them enough time to consume and to basically digest. Again, it only takes them around 90 minutes to digest, but you want to make sure that the water they are in is above 50. That's kind of like my rule of thumb. Once water is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which it's about 10 degrees Celsius, they're going to be able to break down the food and poop out before the temperature starts dropping when nighttime comes along and all that. So again, the three numbers, 44, 50, 60, 40 in Fahrenheit, right? So in between 50 and 60, you're still at the safe zone. But when you start seeing the temperatures drop to that point in your area, I would consider looking for alternative foods. Look at the protein and the fat content. It just takes a lot more energy for them to digest. The worst thing that could happen is they're eating all this like fat content, high protein content. The temperature drops and it just causes blockage and they will die. So the alternative that I would use here in the U.S., something you could get on Amazon.com, it's really inexpensive, is actually by the same brand, Hikari. But it's for goldfish, and this one is Hikari Goldfish Wheat Germ. And the reason why I use this is because when you look at the fat and protein content, it's similarly low. You have 32% protein and about 4% fat. So it's super simple for them to break down in cooler temperatures. This, one thing I have to do is, let me try to zoom in. They come in pebble forms like this, which is way too big. So you are going to have to crush them in a powder form so that the medakas could consume them. But aside from that, this is something that I would use here in the U.S. because you could just get it from Amazon for $7 or something like that. So let me just take a real quick sip. But before I do that, let me just thank the members. Hold on. The best beer of the day goes up to Fire Harp Son and H Son, Nico Fish Son, Mr. _ Andy Yo Son. Oh boy, Lauren Marshall Son. A Nicoler's Son. Oh boy. And I just ran out of beer. But all these beers are, I'm able to enjoy all these beers because of Fox Socket's son, Lindsay's Tank's son, Rocky's Garage son, Jen Nolta's son, Christian Aquino's son, Mr. Golden Arm's son, Niels Hansen's son, Mr. Tent's son, Cameron Kilmer's son, Ixie's Aquatic son, and Les DL son. So, oh boy. Again, thank you so much for becoming a certified Medaka head, whatever that means. I really appreciate your support. And if you become a Medaka head, to become a Medaka head, you just hit the join button next to the subscribe button on YouTube. You'll get this ugly sticker over here and this one over here. And you'll be automatically entered into the raffles and all that. And hopefully I could share more content moving on. Again, I only have one tub over here. So by the way, so this one tub I have over here, the reason why it's still out here is when the raccoons hit, they didn't touch any of my tubs that I had fry. So what I did was I gathered the tubs that I had fry and I just threw them in this Brute. This is a Rubbermaid Brute tub. And that would, I mean, look how much they have grown. I don't know if you like, if you look at my YouTube, when did I get hit? Maybe like 5-6 weeks ago. So these little babies, man, they are getting to size. Compared to what I have indoors, man, these boys and girls are just growing like at a triple the speed, and it's all because of the natural sun. The medakas are oftenly referred as, in Japan, the fish of the sun. It helps their colors come out. It helps them grow and all that. So the power of the sun. And I have them in this freaking fortress thing that I've been showing because of these boys and girls that hit. And so far, I don't think they've been back, and they've been okay, and they've been safe. So at least I have a little batch over here. These are a mixture of Red Cliffs and my Metal Riffs, which are a cross between the Midnight Frill Lame and the Red Cliffs. But I think maybe I have like 30 plus in here. And for them to get through the winter size, you want them to get to at least 2/3 of an inch. 2/3 of an inch is a good size where I feel comfortable that they're going to make it through the winter when it's cooler. It doesn't freeze over here in Pacifica, but it'll get in the low 40s and all that. So I think these little ones over here, I mean, they're okay, but I just want them to get a little bit more. I think we have about 2 more weeks when I have the low of 50 and high of 60, so averaging 55. When we start seeing like the 40s, and the highs really only getting into the 51, 52, 53. That's when I kind of cut feeding. You could feed, but they're really not going to move, so they're not going to eat. They stay still. They don't utilize their energy much, right? And the other thing is, if you're just dumping food in water, you're just going to be polluting the water as well. So little is best. Always remember that. Don't overdo anything. At the same time, if you are looking at a similar temperature like mine, you're in the 50 to 60. If you want to do any water change right now is the time to do it, because as it gets cooler, they're trying not to move to conserve energy. So when you do water changes, they're obviously moving around just because they're like, man, there's water movement. They're fighting the current and all that. And they are utilizing unnecessary energy that they're trying to kind of hold on to and store, because they're not really eating much. So make sure, if you are doing something, cleaning up the tub, getting ready for winter and stuff like that, don't wait till it gets too cold, because that's going to end up harming them, and you may see some of them disappear before even winter even begins. And the whole thing is, we want them to kind of like gradually, settle in to their environment. When winter hits, you're not going to be doing any water changes. You're not going to be feeding them at all. You're just going to let them find some phytonutrients in the water if they need any. The water is going to be pretty stable, just because you're not going to be introducing any foods that'll, spike up the ammonium, nitrates and all that. And they'll be chill. They'll be cool. They'll be just hanging out until next spring. And like I said, man, opening up like this, the top of the tub outdoors when spring comes around, like April, it's almost like opening up a Christmas gift. You'll see them develop, into something that you've never, like almost imagined, color-wise, size-wise, maybe not too much, but definitely color-wise, you'll definitely see them develop the color during the winter times and all that. So that is like the joy of keeping medakas. I mean, spring, man, you get to open up the lid and you're like, wow, these babies just developed into something that you would have never imagined, in a way. And that is the beauty of enjoying medakas, for me at least. And so, enough of me. Thank you for tuning in again. And I'll try to keep all you Medaka heads updated. And yeah, it's only Saturday, right? So I'm not gonna go to Nick's tomorrow. I'm going to Winners. There's going to be like 40 plus vendors. They're going to do some type of rock and roll flea market with a bunch of like albums, vinyl, instruments, and memorabilia stuff again. And I'll probably just hang out at Winners tomorrow. I'll probably bump into some local buds, and it'll be some good times. And I'll try to maybe record something after that if I'm functional. But again, the one tub that I have for this season, and I should feed them. I haven't fed them. So in this shaker over here, let me zoom out. I have this maintenance, Hikari maintenance, low protein, low fat. Again, I'm only feeding them once a day now, and since it's weekend, I'm able to feed them now, but typically I won't feed them until I get home around 5 p.m. So all right, I think that's about it, and we'll see. They're pretty active. I think the water temperature is like coming up. It's probably in the low 60s right now. It's a little bit past noon. So, all right, hopefully these babies will do well over the winter, and hopefully I'll be able to report back on their development, and it'll be good times again, 2025. Right, don't worry, we'll do it again next time. To all you Medaka Head members, really, 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 really appreciate your support. I have fun doing this, and hopefully you have fun too. So, real quick sip and... All right, MedakaMetal outs. Contact me on Instagram at MedakaMetal. So, outs.